The Further Tale of Peter Rabbit. Written and read by Emma Thompson. I have not seen many rabbits moping, but when they do, their ears droop. Peter Rabbit was in low spirits. It had been a rainy summer, his blue coat had been torn by briars, and his shoes were hurting. "What I need," he said, "is a change of scene." Benjamin Bunny advised against it. "Too many carts on the road," he said. "Too many owls and too many foxes." Discouraged, Peter squeezed under the gate into Mr. McGregor's garden, intending to steal a lettuce. What should he find by the greenhouse but an interesting basket smelling of onions? He opened it and climbed in. Inside, wrapped in brown paper, were some excellent sandwiches of cheese and pickle. He ate them all. It was cosy in the basket, so he fell asleep. When he woke up, the basket was joggling. Fearfully, Peter lifted the lid and peeked out. The basket was in a cart, and the cart was on the open road. Badly frightened and with no idea of what to do, Peter shot under the neatly folded blanket on the bottom. The joggling went on for a very long time. When it stopped, someone lifted the lid of the basket. "Who's eaten our picnic?" screeched Mrs. McGregor, twitching away the blanket. "Thief!" she screamed. Peter bolted just in time. He ran until he could run no more. Panting at the foot of a tall pine tree, he looked about. A stream ran clear over mossy grey stones, harebells bobbing at the rim. The call of a buzzard made him look up in fright to see high purple hills. Peter, who had a sore paw from running, limped out and stared. He had left his shoes in the basket. "Aye," said a deep voice. "No matter where we've been or where we're going, 'tis the hills draw us back." Peter turned to see a huge black rabbit in a kilt, a dagger thrust into the top of his laced-up boot. "You'll be Peter Rabbit," said the giant. Peter nodded. "Finlay McBurney, at your service. News of your disappearance came up with a mail coach. Your mother's fit to be tied. Follow me." Peter followed. He thought it better not to mention the sandwich basket. The Scottish burrow was hung with bunches of bog cotton. The peat on the fire smelt sharp. Mrs. McBurney, her ears tied in a neat knot, met Peter with a bowl of steaming porridge. He was put to bed with much kindness on a sack filled with sheep's wool and heather. When he woke, Mrs. McBurney had made potato scones for his breakfast.
"Hurry now, dearie," she said. "Today's the big day. Finley's defending his title."
"Oh, good," said Peter, not wishing to appear ignorant even though he had no idea what defending his title meant. In a clearing not far from the burrow, rabbits from all the different clans were gathering. At last, Finley appeared, holding up a great golden cup.
"I challenge all comers!"
he bellowed. Peter thought it was very exciting. The games began. Most of them involved throwing something heavy as far as possible. Finley won nearly all of them. Quite soon, Peter thought it very boring. To the side, the bracken was flattened into a path which Peter followed cautiously. He came upon a sign which read, "Keep out." I imagine it will not surprise you to hear that Peter did not keep out. He went in. There, protected by willow fencing, lay an unusually large radish. It must have measured 3 rabbits round. It also smelt delicious. And Peter was very hungry. He thought no one would notice if he took a little nibble off the end. Accordingly, he scratched his way under the willow fence and took a bite. And then another. And another. By the time Peter had stopped eating, he was inside the radish. Feeling cosy, he fell asleep. When he woke up, the radish was joggling. Not again, thought Peter. All of a sudden, the radish was tipped up, and Peter tumbled out. He found himself back in the clearing. All the rabbits were shouting,
"Through the radish! Through the radish!" "Young cousin Peter,"
boomed Finley,
"be a good wee bunny and toss me yon radish."
This was unfair. Finley knew the radish was far too heavy for a little rabbit to throw all by himself. But he did not know that most of the radish was inside Peter. Peter picked the radish up by its top knot. Everyone laughed at him. Peter whirled the radish around his head and let go. It flew clean over Finley and landed with a thud on the other side of the clearing. Everyone stopped laughing. Then a rabbit in a tam o' shanter yelled, "Peter Rabbit wins the cup!" Peter was raised aloft on dozens of rough paws and bounced about until he felt sick. I am sorry to say that he had eaten far too much radish. When they put him down, Finley came up with the cup.
I have won fair and square, laddie, he said. The cup is yours.
Peter felt awful. "I didn't win it fair and square," he exclaimed. He told Finley the truth about the hollow radish. When he'd finished, there was a long silence. Finally, Finley threw back his ears and roared with laughter. Finley kept his golden cup, and Peter's clever trick became the greatest story in the history of the games. They all feasted on young turnips and the remains of the radish. Everyone was very cheerful, but Peter was homesick. The very next day, Finley hid him behind a sack of letters on the mail coach south. Mrs. McBurney had mended his blue jacket and given him a fat little haggis for his mother.
"Here's ye back, wee cousin Peter," said Finley.
Then he coughed and turned away. Something seemed to have got into his eye. Peter thought it was a midge. There was great rejoicing in the sandbank when Peter arrived home. His mother had worn herself to a frazzle in his absence. She did not mention the shoes. Peter was made to tell the story of the giant radish again and again. Benjamin Bunny always paid it particular attention. One morning, as the first leaves were turning, he crept up beside Peter. Next time you need a change of scene, he said, can I come? The end.